Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I am pooped once again because I don't know how I've landed on always coming back from the gym before doing this. Normally I have like some Sundays off, but my schedule's just had me in the gym for a couple of hours on Sundays just before this. Like again, I come home, I have my protein shake, and then I go right to recording this, and then I render it, and then I go shower. I don't know, it's just the order of operations I've fallen into on Sundays. Oh, it's been a busy week with the Game Awards. There's a ton of videos on the stuff that happened there that I haven't even gotten to. The rest of the Stormblood Retro is already made and uploaded. I just need to schedule it. I've got some sponsored videos coming this week. I think I have one that's sponsored by Ever Crisis, and I'm trying to figure out what video I want to attach that to because I also have some other fun videos that I've been working on. I've got the audio recorded for like 2 or 3 of them. There's one I wanted to talk about Race for World First stuff and, you know, the comparison between World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV. TLDR, ours will never be even remotely as big for a lot of reasons. I'm trying to remember what else I recorded, but yeah, at least one of those will be sponsored by Ever Crisis. If you haven't tried it out and you end up wanting to try it out, wait for that video because it's now available on Steam, so that's going to be kind of like the main component of that sponsored video. Other than that, I'm just getting ready for busy stream stuff for the next couple of weeks. I do plan to go pretty hard on the live streaming aspect. Again, you can watch on Twitch and YouTube now, both of which from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. But I have my 7 Remake replay through that I want to do, Crisis Core replay through. I kind of even want to do Dirge. Dragon's Dogma I have to consider as well before Dragon's Dogma 2 comes out, and I have the entire season for that. I have my Final Fantasy Shuffler, which is where it plays Final Fantasies 1 through 9 and then shuffles between the games randomly every few minutes, so I have to try to play them all simultaneously, basically. And then there's a few other things I was considering over the holiday season, because right now in 14, I'm just working on all relics. Like, I'm almost through Pagos at this point for all the Eureka relics, and, you know, I'm almost done with all the Zodiac books for the Atmas, and then, or the Zodiac weapons, and then there's also the Anima weapons, which I've been collecting all the Tombstone items, so I've just been doing Eureka to get tomes, to buy the Anima weapon tome items, so that way that grind is just, you know, blast right through it when I actually get to it. So there's all sorts of things I'm working on there, but that's about it. That's like a pre-Dawn Trail goal. I don't need to get that done during the winter or anything like that, so I'm in no rush. And then I've been doing the Final Fantasy 11 event. Has been going quite well. People don't really need me that much, so it's been kind of relaxing. I've actually just been doing a few things for myself in between people asking for help or asking questions. So that's been pretty relaxing, and then we'll do the second wave of that in March, which is still intended even with Dragon's Dogma and 7 Rebirth. I'm sure I'll find sometime somewhere in there to encourage it to continue, but we'll see. Maybe it'll have to be April. I don't think there's anything too much for me in April yet, but it's going to be a busy start of the year. Either way, I got to get to work on all that stuff, so let's get to the Q&A, and then we can, you know, answer the questions. I don't know where I was going with that. Thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. You don't have to. You choose to. Everything I have is available here for free. You know, you just watch it on YouTube. You don't have to subscribe to anything or support in any other way in order to gain access, but anyone that does, it's always appreciated, you know. And then also, now SteelSeries, a lot of you know I'm sponsored by. I'm actually doing a thing with them. So they have a software, SteelSeries GG, and it comes with a program called Sonar. And it basically lets you fine-tune all your audio devices, even if they're not SteelSeries devices. It also sometimes has giveaways. I've seen, like, Jades for Honkai available through the SteelSeries GG launcher and stuff like that. Every single person who downloads it does directly support the stream, so I'm going to start including that link and shouting it out in this and probably State of the Realm for the rest of the month. And so if you're interested in that, if you want to try it out, or even if you just want to throw it a download to support the stream or collect your free Jades, whatever it is, I highly recommend using it. I don't toy around too much. I'm not much of an audiophile, but I have messed around a little bit with the microphone. I don't have any of the settings turned on right now, but I can, and I've seen some pretty good improvements when I use it over on the stream side of things, the built-in noise cancellation and all the different levels and being able to adjust it. So definitely take a look. If you are someone who's an audiophile, at the very least, might allow you to fine-tune things a little bit more. Either way, those are my little reads, so let's get on to the Q&A. I like how the first few comments are all like really positive, uplifting comments that have just been upvoted. I like seeing that week in and week out. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hello. Hope you and the cats are doing all right. We're doing all right. Aloha's giving me the death stare. His bowl's not all the way empty yet, but it's getting there. I have only one question. Why can't we queue for multiple duty roulettes at the same time? If I recall, the reason is because the game has a difficult time kind of throwing you into... It's basically like standing in line for multiple rides at like an amusement park at the same time. You know, you can't really do that in real life, and so the way it's programmed, you can't really do that in game either. I mean, they have issues with, even within a roulette, having different layouts for like what the party compositions are. That's why when they added Alliance Roulette was the same patch, they changed Labyrinth of the Ancients to only need 1 tank and 5 DPS instead of the 2 tanks, which are utterly useless, because they needed to get them all to be uniform. I feel like there's examples of it not being that way in the past that they've since rectified. I'm trying to think if there's an example, but either way, that's probably why, and I think they have explained it like that before. I don't know if they have any plans on adjusting that or like looking for a solution, but I wouldn't expect it to change anytime soon. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. Hope you and Le Cats are all right. Amazing gains, too, by the way. You know why I always look like I'm making mad gains? It's because I've been working out on Sundays. And I do chest on Sundays. I'm so against chest on Mondays. That's how I got into it. I had a chest on Mondays day coming, and I just did it on Sunday, and now that's just been the regular thing because I hate doing chest on Mondays. Everyone at the gym does chest on Mondays, so you're just all fighting each other for the same space, and it's the worst. I don't know what it is. Anyway, quick few questions. One, Vision of Mana trailer came out. It seems like it's an open world adventure. Would you play it? I made a video on it. I think I posted the video before. I think it might have been the same day you asked me this question, so that might be fair. Yeah, I mean, Trials of Mana I had a lot of fun with. Big fan of Kevin. I swore Kevin and Razor from Genshin were the same voice actor. They're not. They just sound completely identical to me. And yeah, so I'm excited for that one. Didn't like Secret of Mana's remake. A lot of people didn't. I remember it getting pretty lukewarm reception. But yeah, I'm going to play Visions of Mana. I was very surprised and excited about that. And two, if you could add a meal, food, drink in the culinarian repertoire of recipes, what would it be? You mean like the in-game culinarian or like my ability to cook? Because I don't even craft. I don't even know what's there. If you're talking about in-game, it would require me to even know what the recipes are in-game. And I don't, because I've never crafted with culinarian before. Outside of like tribe quests, I suppose. I guess if it's just for me, like in real life, I've never made a Wellington. So go with that. Maybe. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Happy. Hi. Hope you're well. I am well. I'm glad you are well. I am well. And you are well, too. We are both well. Wait, no. I'm happy. But looking forward to the Japanese FanFest, and like many, I am excited about the known topics they'll discuss and showcase. What intrigues me the most are the surprises, like the introduction of the second die channel in the previous event. These unexpected announcements are always a blast. Yeah, because, I mean, we always know what to expect generally. So when we get the thing we don't expect, you know, obviously that elevates it a little bit. Do you have a favorite unexpected announcement from any previous FanFest? You know, I would say Blue Mage, but only the initial announcement and not the follow-up explanation that came a day later, because that took a lot of the wind out of the sails. But if I were to think of an isolated announcement that in the moment went, oh, it was probably Blue Mage initially. Very much initially. And I actually like Blue Mage. Like, I even like it now. I just don't think the idea has panned out in an effective enough manner. This one didn't have a hashtag, but I saw it say good morning, so I figured it probably had a question. Good morning, Mr. Happy. Good morning. It's afternoon for me now, but good morning to me tomorrow. I want to say thank you for the content you have posted. Thank you for watching it. Second, the actual question, I've rated as tank and melee, but what would be a good starting class to rate as healer, fizz, range, and magic? I think Sage is by far the go-to healer now. Like, White Mage is really simple to rate as, but you also feel the lack of mitigation tools much more quickly. Like when you only have wings and that's all you can do, compared to when you're a Sage and you have Caracoles for everything and you can put shields up for things, and then you have your God, I can't remember. You have Hollows, and you have so many mitigation tools and shields in your kit that you feel way more in control. Not to mention getting the heal every time you do a DPS GCD helps as well. And the movement tools they have, it's very cozy. Fizz range dancer, super big joke. Like Machinist and Bard, not that much harder. Machinist probably the easier of the two if your latency isn't that high, but Dancer, by far. And Magic, Summoner. I mean, Summoner is basically a Fizz range. I could have given that to you as the answer for either of those. So yeah, definitely Summoner, Dancer, and Sage. So I had a question come in that was about third-party tools, and since it named them, I'm just going to leave the actual text off of the screen. But it basically was like, I feel guilty for using this tool, but it's really helping me. Would you consider it a game breaking to a level you wouldn't raid with someone that uses a tool like this? Would you say as long as it's only for the better experience, or if it's just a graphic tool, it's fine? The number one thing, you very likely never know exactly what someone on your team is using and or not using. I learned that very much firsthand in Omega. So, you know, you just have to play with people and just, you know, like you're not going to interrogate every person that you play with. And some people use things just to help out with like deficiencies they may have, whether it's something lag related or it's some sort of impairment that they have. There are genuine case uses for things that are not, I guess, not in effect cheating, but they're cheating within the rules of the game. So I've made it a rule for me. I don't use those things. I don't want to use those things. And I don't want anyone on my teams that are using anything overly egregious. But if there are things people are using to just help them, and it's just something small that, again, fixes a minor deficiency or something lag related, then that's fine. I'm not going to interrogate them and ask them everything they're using. If I find out, it'll usually be the hard way, is what I've learned. And so it's just, I just don't have that kind of, I don't know, I'm just not going to interrogate people. I guess that's kind of like the whole point here. Hashtag Monday with Mr. Happy. Hey-o, Haps. And a handful for people who missed theirs. Not one yet. I thought the one prior, because the one prior didn't start with a hello. It started with a first off hello. But that's that. After doing Anabasios, I have to say P10S is my favorite fight in all 14 for how unique it is with multiple platforms, using at least one of the platforms constantly. After looking through old WoW raids to refresh my memory on what the mechs were in them, I was curious if Yoshi P and the other 14 devs have a hard stance against certain mechanics when it comes to specifically Savage raids. Would like to see more 14 raid fights with more irregularly shaped stages and mechanics that utilize the extra space. Well, the thing is, P10 isn't irregularly shaped. It just takes the main platform, and then there's two smaller versions of the main platform on the side. It's essentially just another platform that's split in half and put on the sides there. But in terms of the fight, it's incredibly symmetrical. It's just not completely symmetrical, you know? It's asymmetrical, you know, to the east and west, but the north and south aren't. The main reason they don't is because of the way the mechanics are made. They've had issues with irregularly shaped arenas in the past, specifically in the very first coil, where there were just a lot of abuses of the difference in elevation in certain locations, or just annoyances with the way that certain things would interact with all the height differences and whatnot. So they just did away with all that. They decided it's easiest to design mechanics when the arenas are as symmetrical as possible. And I don't think they're ever really going to shy away from that unless they come up with something that specifically needs an irregularly shaped arena. You know, that's the thing. They're never going to say, okay, let's make a fight. Let's start with an irregularly shaped arena and then design the fight around that. They're going to think of designing a fight. And then if they were for some reason to be like, this would be better with this weird shape of the arena here, then there's that. But they really like symmetry and it helps with their design process. So they're probably not going to shy away from it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Greetings and salutations. Hello. I have more of a meta question. What's your advice when you have a static that doesn't have a specific targetable problem, but more of each person takes turn making small snowballing mistakes across the party due to losing focus because of our RL distractions or other outside influences? It's never the same person on repeat. It's spread out among basically all of us, but we take turns doing it, so we have very slow prog re-clear, and sometimes just don't re-clear in time to do prog, as we only do 2 nights a week. I really like my stack, but I have no idea what to do about a generalized issue that has no real specific target to talk to practice or whatever to try and fix it. Dedicated to getting it done, but we're all getting anti-irritated at the general lack of anything. If everyone's part of the problem and everyone's getting annoyed, this is what we call a casual static. It's people who have priorities that are far above the game, and there's nothing wrong with that. And thus, if everyone's getting antsy, but everyone's the problem, then nobody's taking responsibility. It's a big dodge of responsibility. Somebody should be able to look at, okay, well, every time I need to step away or every time I make a mistake, I should be working to improve it. You don't even have to look at the other people and what they could be doing. Everyone could just be introspective and look at themselves. So the fact that nobody wants to do that is the biggest problem in a group like that. And that's very common amongst casual raid statics that just go a few nights a week. Everybody has incredibly, I guess, normal lives, you know, not sitting at home for 16 hours a day. You know, they have a wife, they have kids, they have pets, they have a regular job, maybe even an irregular job. Maybe they work nights, whatever, you know, just like a living class human being, you know, and distractions come with that. Like it's unavoidable. So one of two things needs to happen. Either people need to understand the space that they're in and that it is a static for people that lead very much traditional lives and have traditional problems. Unless there's no, if you live that life, you should understand other people in your static having a similar life and it shouldn't be as frustrating. Or the only advice is to say, hey, you know, we've struggled with this. Is there any way that we can, you know, find a means to like really focus it down and work on improvement? Maybe look into things that you could be doing better outside of our time. And the problem with that is, at least in my experience, is while there's a chance all 8 people are in complete agreement, there's also a very high chance that people take offense to that. Like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean like that? Like, then that's when you find the people who genuinely don't think they are at fault. Or if is one person in the group who doesn't make these mistakes often and they think you're talking to them, then they stand up. Or somebody who's been holding something in. There's so many things that can happen because people cannot take criticism and people cannot take any form of negativity without taking offense to it. So that's entirely dependent on the group of 8. If there are 8 level-headed people who understand, yes, that's true, we should probably do that so we can make sure that we do better, that's great. But if that's not the case, then good luck, because that's genuinely the conversation that needs to happen. It needs to be if we really want to get this done, we got to focus on our weak spots. You know, if we're making mistakes, understand why we're making mistakes. If, you know, we are constantly getting distracted, figure out how to stop that, whatever it is. As for the secondary fun question, why is 07 the standard? Last I checked, oh, you mean like this? You salute at your eyebrow, and if you're not wearing a hat. So doesn't 07 more accurately represent that? Yeah, but the capital O makes it look like, well, no, because the top of your head is like this. I salute like this. So, oh, but you're saying, I guess what you're saying is that that's implying that you're doing this versus doing this. When I think the O is supposed to be your eyeball and not your whole head, I don't know. There's no logic behind the internet. It just looks better, in all honesty. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Swole Happy. I specifically, again, since I worked out today, Swole does this work. Hello and howdy from Austin, Mr. Happy. Hello. Your commitment to your fitness journey has been inspiring, and for a change of pace, I want to ask you about your top protein-rich go-to snacks and meals and that you make for yourself if you find yourself pressed for time. Trying to find ways to add more lean protein into my daily intake, and I've been doing eggs, tuna, turkey jerky, and lean proteins for dinner. During the day, coming up with snacks and some protein's been tough. The Maple Waffle Magic Spoon cereal. That's a good one. That would have been. I think we're gonna do some more sponsored stuff with them at the start of the year, but yeah, that is an easy one. I don't know. For me, it depends. I don't mind going with like a vegetarian breakfast burrito, for example. That's black beans, cheese, eggs, and then a little bit of like diced potatoes, and then that's in a tortilla. The big thing for me is making sure that I have a carb-rich breakfast as well as a protein-rich breakfast. So I end up not usually going crazy heavy on protein early in the day, and instead I focus that at night, whereas I want to go crazy hard on the carbs in the morning to make sure that I have enough energy for the workout. I also tend to get like right when I wake up and right before I go to bed is like my biggest carb intake, because I want the carbs in my body for the next day. I want the glycogen stores in my body for the next day. So yeah, it really does depend. I mean, I have my protein powders. I have oats, which, I can mix the protein powder with, so that makes for something good. But I just keep a lot of cooked meat, or just meat in general, that I can quickly grab. I actually don't. When I snack, it's snacking outside of my dietary means, usually just to fill a calorie deficit, because right now I'm not trying to eat at a calorie deficit. I will be in the next few weeks. But other than that, because I'm not trying to eat at a calorie deficit, I just have to make sure that I get a few basic things done, and then I fill the rest of the calorie space with something that's proportional to what I need, which is normally like about twice as many carbs as I get protein. So, I mean, like I had a cup of cottage cheese for 30 grams of protein earlier. That's a pretty good one. That's like 200 calories, 30 grams of protein. So that's, only 80 grams of I'm sorry, 80 calories that aren't from either fat or carbohydrates from it. And I'm looking at my fridge, like trying to envision like what's inside. There's ground turkey in there. My freezer has some steaks, some more ground turkey, some ground chicken. I have a ton of salmon fillets. I want to make some salmon after this. I have some, what are they called? Sweet pea leaves, which is basically like my spinach alternative, which is like 5 grams of protein for the entire container. But, whatever. That's fine. It's a little bit more. It's nothing major. I buy Quest protein chips sometimes as a little bit of a snack. That's kind of nice. I have my rice, which, 3 grams of protein per serving. It's not the worst, but it's not like a protein source. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. It's mostly just my meats, my chickens, where I get most of my protein. I'm pretty good at just not going out of the bounds of what I want. And if I do go out of the bounds of what I want, it's normally with something that's at least somewhat better, like bananas. I have apples in there, stuff like, fruits and healthy sources of carbs and sugars or, a small amount of protein. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty basic in all honesty. Again, that'll be changing soon. I'll have a lot more eggs and, it's just things will be a lot more controlled for probably about a month and a half when I cut down over the new year. But that's all I got. So I'm just listing off what I have. And unfortunately, I don't think that really answers the question adequately. Hashtag Gym Day with Mr. Happy. Correct. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hi. FanFest just a month from now. What are you most excited about? I'm always just excited to have new stuff to talk about. I love talking about the things that I love. And so when there's a topic to talk about, I'm more excited in general. Will there be a prediction video? Already out. This was asked before I released that, so I totally understand that. So yeah, I guess that answers the question. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello again. Sorry for being greedy, but I wanted to ask, since you mentioned 1.0, I was reminded of the real-time ship travel between city-states. Wanted your opinion on the pros, if any, and cons, if any, of having that feature. Pros is an opportunity to slow down and socialize. Maybe it'll encourage you to get into fishing for the first time. The cons is the time wasted, especially if you have to do it frequently. Not to mention that there's in Final Fantasy XI, there was always the chance of danger. You could lose a level to one of the creatures that would pop up on the ship or the pirate attacks if you weren't careful enough. So there were some risks, but, it's just a matter of do you value the time or the slow social experience more? That determines whether you really like them or don't like them. Hashtag Mr. Happy with Mondays, with all the Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi, how goes? Goes good. I originally was going to ask if you would recommend Dragon Quest Monsters because you mentioned it in State of the Realm, but it seems like you're enjoying it, so I'll ask something else. I do recommend it. Honestly, it's more fun than Scarlet and Violet. I'm not even excited for the DLC this week for Pokemon. Not even in a little bit. What non-Square Enix games coming out in 2024 are you most excited for? I'm torn between Dragon's Dogma 2 and PoE 2 beta myself. I don't know what to expect of PoE 2. PoE 1, I don't mind when there's like a best build. I hate that PoE 1, there's very little experimentation as a new player. If you choose to experiment, you're setting yourself so far behind what you're going to need to do later. Or you're just doing leagues, which only matter for a short period of time anyway. And even then, there's still kind of that same feeling. So I don't know. I always struggle with PoE 1 to maintain interest in it. So I don't even know if I'm excited about PoE 2. But there's, there's so many things that could come out next year, but we don't really know it all yet. Definitely Dragon's Dogma 2. That's one of the ones at the top of my list. I'm thinking of Grand Blue Relink early in the year. I was thinking of doing Persona, but man, I don't know if I can play through Persona 3 again. Honestly, like I'm so turned off of the Persona franchise between how many freaking games release for it nowadays and how the fandom has generally acted in my experience with the fandom, the worst parts of the fandom. Final Fantasy, like the worst parts of the Final Fantasy fandom are like shippers and what's the other one? Oh, and like White Knights. And White Knights are the worst in any, fandom, let's be honest. But in Persona, there's an ever more present and vocal, surprisingly, part of the community that has their favorite waifus. And I'm like, these are teenagers? Can we not do that, please? So I don't think that's not really as much of a thing in Persona 3. I feel like that's really leaned into in 4 and 5 because of the way those games are made, but it still sours me on Persona as a whole. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. I don't know why I said it like that. What's up? What's up? 2 for someone who might have missed one. Nobody yet, but I'll hold on to that one. Okay, so every day when I log in, there's a world full and a queue. Doesn't give me much faith that the queue and server problems were addressed. Yeah, we call that the fake queue. There's like, they automatically, basically, if there's ever any number of people trying to log in simultaneously, you get a queue. It's not an indication of the server being too full or being too, I know it says world server is full, but that's not really why you're getting the queue. Most of the time, the server's nowhere close to capacity, but they want to make sure that they kind of section off the number of people who are logging in simultaneously to make sure that it's like regulated. So that way the system works all the time, whether there's a heavy load or a light load. So that's all that really is. That's not anything indicative of server status or how full it actually is. Because I get those at like 6 in the morning when there's definitely not a full server. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Happy. Hi. You ever found the videos of you playing DDR and will we ever see them? No, because they were on like my girlfriend's YouTube channel in like early college days, and she doesn't have that YouTube channel. That's the only place where it was. All my other videos of me playing DDR are just the screen, so you don't see me. I did stream it a bunch when I first got my new pad, and I still use my new pad for some light cardio. I don't go too crazy like I did back in the day, you know, because that's when I was only doing cardio back then. I don't want to mess up my gains by overdoing DDR or anything like that. So I just do some light cardio on that, if anything at all. So that's the closest you'll get, really. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Mr. Happy, hello. Hi. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. You answered a question about world first rating from someone I'm going to be rating with in Dawn Trail, so I figured I'd toss a few questions out there as well about how much in-game food, pots, and repair materials should you prepare. You should always have a ton of repair materials. Food and pots, it depends on what kind of progress you actually plan on doing. Most of the time, I end up getting way too much food. I think somebody gave me 900 food for one tier, and I used like 200 total across like clears and re-clears. I think that was As Fidelis. So usually like 3 stacks of food and like 5 stacks of pots. That's like a safe bet. 3 stacks of food is so you don't have to make food mid re-clears. So like week after week, it's basically like for prog and for re-clears. And 500 pots is kind of the same for Savage at the very least. You know, you're probably going to burn through, you know, maybe a stack and a half in most cases, but that also depends on how fast you're going. You generally only pot when you're getting close to enrages or when there's a specific portion where you haven't beaten it yet and you're not optimized yet, so you want the pot for an extra bit of safety, maybe like an ad phase or something. So yeah, there's those, but for the most part, it's just a few stacks. Except for repair, just go buy 1 billion repair materials. It's like a 999 dark matters is like nothing. So just get those all the time. Just have that all the time. How does group go for about deciding a proper composition? It doesn't really matter. Just have 1 shield, 1 pure healer, 2 different tanks, and then 4 different DPS. Honestly, I would recommend not running double ranged fizz. You can, but it's just not a recommendation. So you either run double melee or you run double caster, and you just decide that. I wouldn't worry about it as much unless you're doing world prog and you want every mathematical advantage, in which case you need to wait for the patch to see what jobs are the strongest. And that's the only other thing you might do is if somebody wants to flex to a job that's stronger than what they like to play, that's up to them. But it doesn't matter that much as long as everyone's playing well. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy, and special hello to your cats. Oh, I don't get the special hello? Only them? All right. I see how it is. So I was thinking if Beastmaster is a limited job, would it be exactly like Blue Mage? Well, I mean, yeah, I'd assume so. I mean, it wouldn't be exactly, like, you wouldn't be learning spells for monsters. Like, it's not like identical gameplay, but in terms of the structure, yeah, it would probably have its own battle arena where you go up against other NPC Beastmasters that require specific challenges. I hope it's like Pokemon and I can challenge other people. Yeah, you even said the same thing. I would love for the job to be something like a Pokemon trainer. You get monsters and then fight others in the stadium. Yeah, I would like that. I would, don't get me wrong, I want a PvE ass. I want shinies. That's the truth. I just want shinies. So if we could just get those, that would be great. But that also is what I was kind of hoping for. So we'll see. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. I don't know why I've been saying these like this. It just got weird all of a sudden. Hey, Haps. Hi. Longtime viewer, first time asker. Welcome. I have a couple of quick questions. It's a lot of text for quick questions, but we'll see. 1, what gaming mouse and keyboard do you use? What keyboard and mouse do I use? Well, I'm glad you asked. I use the SteelSeries Apex Pro Mechanical keyboard and the SteelSeries Aerox 9 MMO mouse, both of which are awesome. And you can get them with a 12% discount by going into the description of most of my videos and using the SteelSeries discount code Mrhappy, and clicking the link so that I get an affiliate payout as well. Let the sponsor know that you love the channel and that you love the products. I've had this Apex Pro for like a really long time and it works super well still. And my Aerox 9 has been very, very kind to me. I got it when DSR came out. I think I got it 3 days before DSR came out and it still works wonderfully. Now let's see. Do you have any recommendations for a full size? My Apex Pro is a full size. Currently I have a Ducky 2. Don't even know what that is. I have the SteelSeries Apex Pro Mechanical Keyboard and the 12% discount code. And then 2, do you have any plans on making full-fledged video, not only about your HUD or basic settings? I do have an old video, and it's still mostly accurate, but a full-depth guide of all settings, including showing your own and how you got them. I have a video like that. It's kind of old, but it still is almost exactly the same as what I do now. So if you look on the channel, you might actually find what you're looking for already on that front. Didn't have a hashtag, but you did say hello, so you get credit. Hey, hi. I actually have a lot of questions, but leave it at my 3 most wanted for now. 1, since they announced all the classic content for the new expansion, do you expect the same routine as every expansion? Yeah. I mean, there's usually something that's odd out, something like an Island Sanctuary or a Eureka or some sort of crafting or gathering content that we've had in the past. Look at Shadowbringers with Ishgard Resto and whatnot. There's usually some things that are just kind of out of left field. Ocean fishing is another one. But yeah, I mean, no matter what, the staples will always be there. It's just about what little things they kind of sprinkle in between. Maybe we get a new map. Maybe we get a new leap of faith. Maybe people finally get Blitzball and I hate it. Whatever it is. But yeah, they're always going to have that base idea of what they're doing. Related to the first question, what's your take on changing up the formula? Would you like to see changes to the Alliance raid, like 3 times 5 turns for raids or 2? Well, that's not the Alliance raid. The Alliance raid, I don't really care what they do as long as the bosses in there are fun. They're not going to change that only because that's like roulettable, so they're not going to want to make it longer in any capacity. So that's probably not going to change. Multiple trials each patch. I mean, we do get that. We get Unreal trials every patch, and we have gotten random patches with odd out trials like what's it called? Not Castrum. What's it called? Memoria. Yeah. So we get them, and then there's also sometimes Hildebrand trials. We're getting Asura, for example, coming up. I mean, they do that from time to time. They just often are not the same reward structure as everything else. It's not a risk. It's about what is calculated, what makes sense. There are some things that make sense and some things that don't. There are pieces of feedback that would lead to something that's improved, and there's pieces of feedback that are very personalized. So, but no, I don't see any reason to change the base formula. It's just about the things that we get that aren't part of that on top of that. And 3, I would like to see crafters be even more relevant in crafting gear and item level. I mean, they're pretty relevant right now. I would not recommend anyone go into raid without at least a full set of crafted. That's literally like step number 1. As high as raid equivalent, no. That's not a good idea. Don't do that. Then people just buy BIS, essentially, or what they think is BIS, or they just don't even give a shit about what BIS is because they just bought it and it's the highest item level of it. No, there's no feasible reason. The only way you get to that is if there's materials that drop in the raid that then sell and you can use those to make it. And I'm not entirely against that, but I don't see a benefit to doing that as opposed to just, doing what we have now. It's just there for the sake of being there. And nothing else. And it's going to run the raid. But I'd rather they fix the loot systems that we have than add something else that can render those irrelevant, I suppose. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hello. Greetings, Haps. Hi. Here's an extra hello in case someone missed one. Not yet, I don't think. How are you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I have a simple question. I think I noticed that the new requirement to play Dawn Trail are an i7 processor as a minimum. I'm still rocking an i5 11000 11th gen. Do you think I'm crap out of luck? An 11th gen, I think, wasn't it like a 6th generation i7 they were asking for? I'm pretty sure that an 11th generation i5 is probably better than a 6th generation i7. Now, don't quote me on that because I don't know if that's the case. But I'm hard-pressed to imagine that 5 generations of technology wouldn't have advanced an i5 past that. So it's just... don't look at the i7 part. You need to look at the benchmarks of those individual pieces. So let me just check real quick. Let me just check what it is. On trail minimum requirements. Yeah, it is i7 6700 or higher. That's the minimum. It's not the recommended, but that is the minimum. Yeah, no, there's no way that an 11th generation i5 is weaker than a 6th generation i7. There's just not a chance. But if you're really concerned, Google the benchmarks for an i7 6700 versus an i5 11000, because I don't think there's any chance I think you're fine, is what I'm saying. All right, that's not the last question, but there were a few I remember kind of scrolling past and just not including. There's a lot of just comments from last week's one. There's some people talking about like added advice. Again, there were some positive ones near the top. I could have swore. Oh, there was some where people hashtagged, they just kind of inserted an opinion about things. So it's like, I just decided to make more time for questions. And then there was one that was like an idea about the limited crafting job. Got a few comments from last week as well. Just a few comments about some stuff from last week. So yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. Sorry if you're one of the questions or the comments that had the hashtag that just didn't get included. I just wanted to focus on the questions so I can take this damn shower. So with that, that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Thank you for watching. If you have a question, throw it in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like and subscribe. And with that, I will see you next week. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye-bye.